address.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We got it. It's in
Mhm.
progress recording. Let me address why we picked this subject. I have a news feed and things come up in it, and what came up was a short little article about a guy in Europe getting sued by some sort of agency in Europe because when people went to his website, he was calling the fonts, the letters of content from Google Fonts. And so when somebody logged into his website, Google knew who had logged into that website and was tracking it. And that is a lack of privacy. And so as a result, he got sued for this, which nobody wants to get sued. And I don't think it was a huge amount that he had to pay. But the point is, we are far more concerned about privacy than we used to be. And we should be concerned about privacy. People who say they're not worried about privacy, it's like saying I don't care about the freedom of speech because I don't have anything to say. You know, I don't care about privacy because I don't have anything to hide. Well, you still should care about privacy, even if you think you don't have anything to hide, because your private life should be your private life. And whatever ailments you've got or interests you have, that's not everybody's business. And it's certainly not the business of Mark Zuckerberg or Google or anybody else. It's your private business and it should stay that way. And when we build a website, we need to keep in mind that we need to protect our clients' privacy and the privacy of the people who go to that website. So what we are going to go over here is the GDPR privacy consent. We're going over a couple different ways to add privacy consent buttons to a website. And we're also going over a couple different ways to bring in your own fonts, because sometimes having your own fonts is really fun and it really can make a website better if you're not just using the one that came with the theme. So ways to bring in fonts that jazz up the website and make it look better. So that's what we're going over today. And that's why. And there's a couple of ways to do it. And Doug's going to have something to show us, and I have something to show us. And so there you have it. That's what's going on. So should I go ahead and get started?
Yeah, yes, go right ahead.
Okay, well then I will share my screen. Hold on here.
Yep.
Share screen. There it is. Share. Okay. Well, this is a website called Titan Labs. And I've had this website up for quite a while. A few years actually. And they sell cleaning products, cleaning chemicals that help get stuff that you would normally never be able to get clean. And we have here this little policy. Privacy cookies. This site uses cookies. By continuing to use this website, you agree to their use. To find out more, including how to control cookies, click here. This goes to a cookie policy. You can close and accept this. And basically, it'll remember if you were logged in for a while, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month, but then it forgets, and you'll have to click this again if you go back to the website. So this particular cookie consent is being added by Jetpack. And I'll show you how to get to it. I go to Jetpack. I use it on some sites, not all. It comes with a lot of stuff, a lot of bells and whistles. You don't have to activate all of them. Then if I go to settings here, let's see. So I think it's under sharing. Oh, maybe not. There's security. Maybe it's under security. Okay. Automated scanning, performance. enable video press, enable for images, writing. There is a section, you turn that on. Sharing. Discussion. So to subscribe to a new post by email, traffic. Okay, I'm going to have to find it again. Give me a second, I'll find it. Why doesn't Doug Ryder take over and show us a different way? I had this all figured out like a week ago. You want to? I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay.
Hold on here. Let me go back to here, and then I'll jump in a little bit. Stop share. Okay, and I'll figure this out. I had it up like a week ago. Okay.
All right. So the funny thing is that Mary and I were both, I'm not using Jetpack, but Mary and I were both using the same cookie compliance plugin that is a GDPR one. And so I decided to go, well, I'll go in a little different direction. So I changed to a different one. It's called Compliance, and it's pretty full featured. So this again is just a fake site called cookies.writerworks.com. And I put in this plugin. And it's called Compliance, and it has a very large dashboard for a lot of things. And there's a whole cookie wizard that you have to go through. And it'll ask you if you want GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation, or you want California's, which is the California Consumer Privacy Act. You can toggle which ones you want. There are more than you actually can think about. So I want to show quickly, if I can, let me just go back to the other. Oops, sorry, touching the top. There we go. So this is what it is. So it's a little button down here, and you click and you get a cookie pop-up that asks if you want to accept, deny, or view the preferences. And there's also a cookie policy link, privacy policy link, and you can manage services in a different area. So just to view the preferences, you have, I've set this up so there's always one cookie that is always there, and it's a functional one. It means that your site's not going to break by somebody disallowing it. So you can actually toggle things off if you want, or you can actually read what each cookie is about, the statistics or the marketing. And if I just did this, just said, okay, I'm just going to toggle that one off. I'm just going to save presence. Get back to that, sorry. I'm going to save preferences. And so this actually happens. So we can actually take a look and see what has occurred. If I go back to manage consent, it shows me that's here. If I say I want to accept everything, and it'll come back and you see everything is toggled on. So I'm just going to, I'll toggle one off for the time being. And you can tell what the cookie is or where it is. If I just go to, let me go back over to Chrome, which is where the cookie, we have another cookie here. It's a different browser, so it's going to be different cookies, okay? Just the way it works. So I'm going to hit Save Preferences, and I'm going to go into Google developer tools where you can actually see where the cookies are in the developer tools. So this is one that I'm going to be constantly just keying all the time because I just don't go there. I go there multiple times a day. And so we have this applications over here. Normally you get elements and you have a variety of other things that are related to what you see on your website. But if we go to application, we go down to cookies and we can see the, I'm going to actually shove this down below. And you can actually see what's been allowed, what's been denied, and these things. And you can tell where they're coming from. It tells you the max age is a year. You can actually come in here and just, if you want to delete a cookie, which I just did. This is just to show you where they go, where they are. And of course, it's browser specific and it's website specific. So if I go back out of here, and let me get back to here. I'm just going to walk through really quickly what the wizard is, because it's kind of daunting. I would suggest if this is one you want to use, go through the wizard, just take notes, because you're never going to be able to finish it in an easy way, because they'll ask you questions that you didn't even think about. And so if we start the wizard, I'm just going to show you here. You can see you have UK GDPR, obviously the CCPA US, and some of the others that I didn't even know about, and ask you to target visitors. I'm not going to go through everything here, but there's a ton of things that can generate a cookie policy from them, an EU specific or whichever one you want. So I'm going to jump down to consent. There's 40 cookies on your domain. You can clear the cookies and reset them to see what's going on there. Quite extensive. They'll be asking you lots of questions, and I would suggest take notes and come back later. The cookie banner that actually shows up, this one shows up down on the right. That's in the back end of here. But you can actually, this is where you set up your banner. If I go to the bottom, you get this kind of look also. And you see this a lot too. So it's just dependent upon what you like and how you want to deal with it. And lots of customization choices. Lots of, opt-in. You can do, and the text all goes with each one. There is integrations. And now I checked off YouTube just to see what happens. And so they put in a placeholder. And this is part of the services that would show up in here. And these are all the different things they'll ask you. Do you use this? Do you use live chat? Do you use HubSpot? Do you use WhatsApp, LinkedIn? Those are all choices that you'll have to make through the wizard. But it comes down to a pretty interesting process that, you have there is a pro version of this. And I say it's not that expensive on a single basis, but anyway, this I thought looked pretty good. It had all the things that obviously you would need, cookies. Obviously, there's a lot here, and there's proof of concept. And one of the other things that I thought was pretty interesting, if you go back over here and go to cookie policy, they have, this is a generated policy. You can actually come in here and just live check and uncheck the statistics, which is pretty interesting. So I just untoggled that. Let me see if I did. Okay, so if I toggle it back on, I think I have to close this save preferences. It'll toggle it back on. So it has a very interesting process of getting, from the front end too. But this always shows up so people can just change their consent of what they did, because a lot of times people just blow through and just hit, yeah, go ahead, accept, I accept, I accept. But knowing what you're accepting is something I think is important, and they show it here, of course, Anyway, so that is all I have for this one. This is a cookie policy EU, which was generated. If there was a CPR California version, there would be one for that too. I think the pro version allows you to pick and choose multiples of these policies based on the geotagging. So they have a lot of functionality here.
I really like this plugin. It looks good. I like the fact it generates a nice little page for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to do too much editing on it.
Well, they can generate a number of pages. I mean, it's not like Termageddon, So, which is a different thing for your, privacy policies and your terms and conditions and things like that. But it does a really nice job, and I thought, at least, and it's simple. Just a FYI, if you use this will actually, if I made this. It gets kind of big, think about this on a mobile phone. This is going to take up almost half the space. That's just the way it goes,
But once you click it, it goes away, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What happens if you hit deny?
Well, deny is fine. You can come in here and hit deny, and I'll show you what the preferences was. It removes all of the ones that are non-essential. So it disables them. So, and if you accept, it accepts all of them. Okay. And so you can, as I said, you can toggle it. And if you hit save preferences, that's the preference that you set overall. Okay. And of course, if I deny and I go back to look, and all of them are off. It's pretty. Wow, that's really good. Yeah, and all the text is good. The content, it makes sense. And anyway, so that's the one that I'm probably going to start using myself. The one that Mary Ann had mentioned that I had been using for 2 years, which I thought was a great and still is, which is the was it the GDPR cookie compliance.
Now, let me ask you one more question. If somebody comes back later and they say, I want my information removed from your site, can you do that with this plugin?
The cookies, I would say possibly yes. They do have some capabilities for that, but you can just essentially come back, and because this thing is always available when you come back. And I'm not sure, I haven't really done enough with this to know how annoying this is going to be, but it is hidden, except for you just kind of browse up down here. But you can just disable all the cookies. I mean, you can disallow all the cookies that are not applied. And they don't let you, and none of these let you, deactivate the functional cookies, because it'll just mean you break your site. But it's all the other ones.
Okay.
And this is, mostly for third-party companies that just kind of pass your, they kind of pass your view through the website from one browser to the next browser, not to the next browser, but to the next tab you're opening and things like that. And so you have to be kind of notice about this. And I've actually done to the point where I just say, no, I don't want marketing. So I will deny and just say, save the preferences and I'm done.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, I can share my screen now.
Okay, let me jump out here.
So what's the name of that plugin?
It's compliance. See, it's in the little note over there. Let me actually.
Is there the link or something? And there's a question in the chat. Another gentleman's asking.
Okay.
Or someone's asking something.
Michael Noter.
Yeah. So it's compliance. That's the one here. And let me see. Usually okay, hold on one second.
They with a Z. Okay.
Yeah,
Compliance
that's this one
Z.
here. I'm going to pull it up here on their details page, and I'm going to pull it up onto the WordPress.org. This one. Okay. Interesting enough, really simple plugins. This is the same people that did the real simple SSL back in the day. All right, so I just dropped it in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it looks,
sorry.
Well, as long as we're bringing this up, Doug, we should mention, like, this was last, don't scroll too fast. This was last updated 2 weeks ago, has 300,000 active installations, has a lot of 5-star ratings. One couple people didn't like it, a few people didn't, but that's kind of what you look for. How often is it updated, and how many people use it, and how many 5 stars and support things.
As I said, they do have a pro version. I don't know if they list it here. So they have a terms and conditions available, the compliance terms and conditions based on maybe what you have set up. This is their link to their compliance IO privacy suite. And here's their pricing if you want the pro version. So they have $45 for one website. And if it's important for your customer, I think this is a pretty good deal for one website. And it gives you a number of other things. You can shoot compliance to multiple regions. All required legal documents are available to you. So I think it's I think it's great, actually, to be honest with you. I'm surprised. And this is the one that Marianne's going to. You're going to talk about this one, Marianne. This is. I'm going to talk
about GDPR cookie consent and Jetpacks. I figured out Jetpack again. It's like,
okay. So let me stop the share. Do you want to pick up on this?
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. So it's kind of hidden in Jetpack. So I'm going to show you where to get it, though. Okay. Jetpack has a lot of things, and you don't have to always have everything on. But it offers a lot of little things. So if you go to Jetpack, you've installed the plugin, you can go to your settings. And I'm not going to talk about everything Jetpack offers, but I am going to talk about, it might be it's writing. No, it's not writing. Give me a second. Here it is. make extra widgets available for use on your site, including subscription forms and Twitter streams. So Jetpack has a nice little Facebook feed plugin. I mean, it's been kind of replaced by the blocks in Gutenberg, but it still is very convenient on turning certain things on. So anyway, you turn these on. And then I can go into the widgets area of this website. And there's a cookie consent. So I added this. This widget becomes available because I turned on that button in Jetpack. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. Okay. And so this is kind of the default of what it says here. Okay, that's exactly what it says there. And the custom URL goes to Automatic's cookie policy, which I thought at the time was fine. And after the user clicks the dismiss button, it will close and accept. And it's 180 days that it'll stay closed. So if you haven't logged in for a while, 180 days, you won't, if you log in 20 days later, you won't see it. I picked the dark color scheme because it goes with my website, and I put the position on the bottom. That was about all I had to do to set this up. So, and that's just in a widget area. So if you have even if you're using like a standard WordPress theme and you have the footer widgets area, you just put that in and it pops in here. It doesn't really pop in where I think it's going to, because there's another little place on this particular theme. Footer call to action has the Facebook page plugin and custom HTML. If you scroll down here, there's Facebook, and this is their custom HTML I added. So this other comes in all by itself, even though it's put into this section of the footer. Okay. Has life of its own. Pretty easy to set up though. I think of all the setting up of plugins, that was about as easy as you can get. It has one more little thing, which I kind of like. And you can erase personal data. So you can export it and you can erase it. And if you go to click on here, there's really no personal data on this site. It's just like a brochure, but it can erase it. If you had people that logged in, you could pick somebody and erase it. So the way GDPR works is somebody says, I don't, they have to email you. They have to let you know that they are not interested in having their information saved on your site. And with this plugin, you could then say, thank you very much. Go in, take that email and find it and erase that person's personal data from the site and say, I've erased your personal data from our site. So that's pretty easy and convenient. This is the cookie policy page. This is Automatic's cookie policy. I probably could set up a different one, but this kind of covers everything you could ever want to know. And then if you close and accept, it goes away. So there's no managing it. There's no saying I'll accept these particular cookies, but not others, but that's what it does. So that's the one I wanted to share. I'm going to stop share. We have another one we wanted to talk about on a different website. It is GDPR. Give me a second. Just need to log into this one and get it. I'll be in it in a second. Okay, so this site, I'll show you the outside of it. This is, I'm going to share my screen. Hold on here. Go back to share screen. Share screen. Okay. So back sharing the screen. This is a different client, different websites, you know, but right down here is this website uses cookies to improve your experience. We'll assume you're okay with this, but if you can opt out if you wish. So this goes to cookie settings and this is accept. So this is using GDPR. And I've had this website up for a while too. This is a GDPR cookie consent. I'll show you where the plugin looks like here. GDPR cookie consent. So I go here. And it's pretty easy to again, it's really easy to install. And I don't have a pro version. They do have a pro version. And there's some cases where you might want the pro version, but customize your cookie bar. So I picked colors. I picked what it was going to say. I picked the margins. It's a banner. It's going to be in the footer. You know, customize the buttons, accept all, close, etc. The size of the button. There's advanced script. I disable. I think that's supposed to be disabled. This is, and some of these may be part of the, oh, this is the free versus pro. This is what you get. So you get more things in the pro version. So like you could show it only to users from the EU. This is a California thing. It's kind of nice because I know we all have customers in California. So that the pro version does offer more. And then you have a cookie list in here. Nothing found. Cookie scanner. It has, you know, there's not a lot of cookies on this. So, and then there's a policy generator page. All this. So anyway, and these are talks about what's necessary. You can put that, there's stuff that comes in automatically with it. And when you go to visit the site, there it is. We can go to cookie settings. And this has different ones for policy or review. Necessary is always enabled, not necessary. I have those enabled also, but somebody could take them away. And then you click accept. It goes away, but it does have this right here. So you can always bring it back up. So, and that might be useful for some people to always have that so they can check it out. Any questions on this one?
Hey, Mary Ann.
Yes.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I've used this on, the last 10 websites I built. And so it's really good, by all means. One of the things you might need to do is to deactivate it and reactivate it because it gives you more granular cookies to actually allow in the pop-up. So
Okay.
I think you give it a try, but actually I think you have to subscribe to the service called Cookie Yes. So that's going to take a little bit of time. I might be able to show it over here on my side.
Why don't we show it on your side?
Okay, if you want to.
I'm going to stop share.
Yeah.
You go ahead and show it on yours. I installed this on a site like 2 years ago, and I haven't really worried about it since. So
yeah.
I know it's done upgrades and updates because I'm always updating them. So I haven't really worried about it. But let's see what you have to show us here.
Well, let's see. I don't know if let me get my desktop. Hold on, I got to get my Zoom up. There we go. Zoom doesn't show up for me. It's still recording. Do people still hear me?
I can see your desktop.
Okay, all right.
I can see your desktop. I can hear you. You
You
sound
might have to
fine.
hit escape. You might have full screen.
No, I don't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So in other words, if you look up here, I have Zoom up here, but it's not, it's gone.
Mhm.
So let me,
I can take over if you need to stop sharing.
no, I just, yeah, how did I get? This is wild. How did I do that?
Is that the blog you WriterWorks, you one that has
That's not,
GDPR?
no, this is a completely different set of, it's a different set of tabs. I mean, I can, let me go in here. I think I am using this one. All right, I'm going to jump out. I got to figure something out here because this is
Okay,
going to be an issue.
that's okay. You jump out.
Yeah,
You're using a Mac, right?
yes.
Can you do a Command Tab until you get to your Zoom icon?
Well, that's my Zoom.
Okay, so that
And
didn't help. Okay,
yeah,
my bad.
yeah. And I'm just not getting to Zoom that actually. It's weird. All right. So you're seeing my screen?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
And
so
your mouse.
I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna stop the share. Okay. You take over. I gotta. Well, now it's back.
When you share, you can't see,
Yeah, I know. I
you
know.
don't see much on Zoom. I just see the people up in the corner.
When you
Mhm.
shared, it moved your Zoom over to your first monitor instead of, it moved to another monitor. So you were actually on Zoom sharing. It
Okay.
can't be a Zoom here and a share there.
Yeah.
They came together.
Okay. So if I share my screen again,
There you go. I see your
participants can now
screen.
see. Okay, but the
You're good.
interesting thing is this is my browser that I use a lot, and I had a whole different set of tabs up here. Oh, there we go. Cookies, just another. Okay, so phew, that's what freaked me out. Okay, never mind. So this is the same one that Marianne is talking about. And so you have a cookie settings, and you can see you get more here because if you disable, and I'm using this tool called Cookie Yes, which can actually dive in, figure out more cookies and be able to categorize them.
Now, do you have the professional version?
No, this is the free version.
Okay.
But the only way to do it is to update to the latest version and then disable it and then activate it again, and it will give you the ability to show more. That was a
Well,
lot of time to spend just for that. Anyway, so
no, that's
sorry.
okay. I learned something new.
Yeah, and I use this plugin. I've used this on at least 10, 12 sites recently.
Yeah.
So it's really good.
So, and it offers CCPA, cookie compliance. You can click that. CCPA and GDPR. You can click
Mhm.
comply with both. So I'll probably not while we're live here, but I'll do what you suggest and
Okay.
turn it off and turn it back on again.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. If you want to jump in on the Google fonts that you have, and I'll.
Okay, I can do fonts.
Marianne, there is a question in the chat first.
What's the question? I'm looking for it.
No, the
Cookie as part of the GDPR cookies plugin from Jan.
No, it's just a service that this plugin provides. You can actually, what you have to do is you have to sign up, give them an email address, and they'll actually determine what all the cookies you have on your site. And from that, they can build these extra, categories.
How do you do that?
Well, it's in there. You have to disable first and then re-enable. Make sure you're up to the latest version because it was on version
Right.
two something. And anyway, but it takes a while because it can take up to, depending upon the website, you can take up to like 10, 15 minutes for it to figure out all the cookies. So I wouldn't suggest doing it now. Let's put it that way.
But that's interesting. So you turn it back on. I mean, I'm at 2.1.1 is the
that's
version
the
I
latest
have.
version. Yeah, but if you
So-
deactivate it,
Okay.
and then reactivate it, it triggers itself to actually let you do the cookie yes. That's my understanding of it.
Okay,
Okay.
that's perfect. That's good to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's good. We've done with cookies for the moment. We're going to talk about why this poor guy got sued. And I think while I'm bringing up the couple websites where I use fonts, I'd like it if you talk about why they would go after a small company. As of you, because you talked about that another time. I heard you talk, when we were in person. Why they went after a smaller company as opposed to a big company. Something about setting precedent.
Yeah.
Go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, that's my understanding is they just, they're testing the waters, so to speak, and seeing how it going to play out. And it was a small amount. I think it was like €100, which is a little over $100. And it was somebody who is in the EU. And again, the person who went actually delivered to the US the IP address, which is required for Google when they're doing their standard use our Google fonts. Anyway, so again, I have been self-hosting fonts for many, many years, not because of Google, but or by the GDPR.
Yeah. So basically, I think what you were saying earlier was that they're like setting precedents so that they go after a bigger company. But we don't want to have them set precedents with us.
No, that's their goal. And there's some others they're testing the waters on too. So anyway, just FYI.
Right. Okay, so this one is called, this little plugin that I'm going to talk about is called Use Any Font. And I'm going to show you the website. I'll share my screen. Share screen. Here, okay. First, I will show you the website. This is a little SEL. This is a membership website. And basically teachers can subscribe, or their principals or the school district. And then they can get a subscriptions to all their teachers, and little kids, the kindergarten to first grade, can watch these social emotional learning videos. And it is so incredibly cute. It's just adorable videos on here. And homeschoolers are signing up for it. And it basically teaches kids how to share, with little puppet shows and stuff like that. It's adorable. It's an adorable website. And the gal who created it, she and her son created it. He's a graduate from George Fox and in video, and he's kind of a master of that. But he picked this particular font, not the colors. He picked a specific font. And so we had to have that specific font on this website to match his logo that he had created. So not just, it looks pretty like any normal font, but it really isn't. It's special. So I go into Use Any Font. And basically, first you upload the font. Okay. And I have uploaded this font called Beavis New. That's what he has on his website. That's what he wanted. And after it's uploaded, you then assign it. And so I assigned it to various things. Okay. So the extra bold is assigned to certain categories. The middle is assigned to certain categories. And that's about all you have to do. You do need to sometimes do a little bit of customization in CSS to make everything work right. So I'm trying to figure out what I did in CSS. Maybe not much. Center, I didn't have to do any logo. I guess I didn't do much on CSS except colors. is probably all. So it was pretty straightforward and I got the font. So another website is Cameron Stanford House. And if you see here, this website, this font here that they have, this is definitely not a Google font. This whole little fancy font here, it's we had to buy it. She had it on her, this one here. She uses it on all their correspondence and their printed materials. This is a house museum in Oakland, California. And she wanted that font on the website, obviously. And so we had to buy the font. She had only a version that's available for use on a personal computer and for that sort of thing. So we bought it for the website and installed it using Unity font the same way. Here's another website. And this gal wanted she had her daughter had made this logo for her. And she wanted a font that matched it as well as she could. And unfortunately, this was like hand drawn, so I couldn't match it perfectly. But we went into Google Fonts, we got her a free font that she's happy with. It's pretty close. And so all the headlines are put in with this in the same way. And you can see that this is all, it matches well enough that she's quite pleased with it. So Unity font, I do have, there's a free version, but if you have it on more than one website, so like the first time I ever used it, I only needed the free version. That was great. But the second time I used it, I had to get a paid version. It knows. And so anyway, but it works really easily. You download the font and then you upload it in like a .txt file or whatever file that it usually comes in. And then you just assign it to where you want it to be. And that's it.
Marianne,
Yes.
I've never done that before. So when you purchase it, do they give you an API key and you put it in that little spot you were just in?
Yes. So, oh gosh, the company name, it must be on here and somewhere. Let me go to
Where you
plugins.
bought it from?
Yeah, I have it. I have a login to the company website. It is Unity font. This is it. This is the company here.
Okay.
And this is the DNS Karki. And so you log into your account and send your email, then you can download the plugin again from there. And it's not that expensive. These are different ones they have. Pricing, let's see. I'm trying to figure out what pricing is. It's not horribly expensive. Let's see, lots of plugins. Unity font, I have to log in. Here it is, Unity font API key. So I have it, I think I have it on 10 sites, something like that, or maybe I have the corporate one. And it goes forever. You don't ever have to renew it. So
I have a question. Is it, there was an old way you used to be able to put fonts on a site before they had @FontKit, which is used for CSS. And it would change the font into an image actually. And you could get away with using any font because you weren't actually using the font. So if you had to do an @FontKit, sometimes it doesn't work because you have to purchase a font. So one of the things that I noticed with a font image was that if you tried to highlight it to copy, the highlight didn't work. like you could copy it, but you couldn't highlight it. I'm wondering if like that one of those sites, I was just wondering if you would try to highlight one of the fonts that you are doing.
Sure. Tell me what
Yeah.
you want me to do.
Whichever site, it was, whatever site you're using that plugin on. Oh, it looks like
Okay.
it's you. I think I saw it already. Like I saw
Give me a
little.
second. I'm going to go back to the site. It's going to come up here. Okay. So I am in the site.
Yeah, see, can you highlight any of the text that use that font? Okay, cool. Cool. Because
Yeah,
that was
and
a
I can
really weird
paste it
thing.
now.
People used to think it was broken. And then one day I I realized it went onto the clipboard, you couldn't highlight it because it wasn't an actual font. So that's cool that it did that.
This is an actual font. Yeah, it's
Well, that's what I did too with the other one. I forgot what it was called. It was font replacement is what they would call it. And it
okay.
actually looked a little bit crisper than the font if I'd used it, because it was replacing it like an image, and it looked a lot like it did in Photoshop compared to how the browser would render it. But it looks like,
right.
so but that's the thing I'm wondering, how are they able to do that with any font?
Because the plugin is called Use Any Fonts. So it's
No,
meant to
like,
do that.
yeah, but you can't even do that with a font kit.
Well,
you
you
know,
can.
first-
Let me show you. Let's say I wanted to put this on a website. So I could download this font family.
Okay,
Okay.
so all right, okay, that you answered my question. So if you go to fonts, okay, what's the one? It's like myfonts.com.
Okay.
You would have to purchase the font and download it and then use it.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
gotcha.
yeah. So
And you would
Google-
have to purchase the like web version of the font.
right.
Okay.
So give me a second. I have a favorite company to buy fonts from.
Okay, I just was wondering if they were like, you just found a font and you just like upload it.
Oh, no, no, no,
Okay.
no. I
With the
think
font
Font
replacement,
Spring.
you could do that. Oh yeah, I know Font Spring. That one's a good one.
Yeah, worry-free fonts. I have bought fonts from them before.
They're
They know
pretty
who I
cheap.
am, I bet.
Yeah, they're inexpensive.
They're not, yeah, they're not too bad. Let's see if I can log in here just so people can get an idea.
Oh, Feline, I don't use those image fonts anymore. I only did it because it was back in the day before before the whole licensing thing got figured out on how to pay people for their fonts. That was
Yeah.
the only way to get a font that wasn't one of the 12 Google fonts like Lobster and whatever.
Lobster. Oh
I
my God,
remember those.
Lobster.
I
Awesome.
remember those. Yep.
I once built a site using Lobster.
They had like 12 fonts. Remember? We were so
Yeah,
excited.
Google now has over 1,300 fonts.
I know.
So it's-
Yeah,
it's
there's a lot.
changed quite a bit.
So this is where I go to buy fonts. And Ophian, I showed you the CS House website, that font. Now that is a picture because that's part of their logo, but this is not. This is the font coming up.
Yeah.
That is, I think that might be the font from them. It might be a different font company, but, and these, yeah, I can always download them again. This is the one I just bought for the little SEL company. This is for a different client who's wanted that particular font in on her website. So yeah, I like Font Spring very well. There's some I don't like as well. When you download them, you get like a file that you just, it comes in a zip file, of course, and then you unzip it and you upload the file using the upload function with Use Any Font.
Hmm.
And that's how it's done. So you just go here, you'd upload your font. It's pretty easy to find. When you go up to upload, it'll, you know, do your thing and then you assign it. And you can, when it goes, would like to, well, I don't want to break this site, so I'm not going to change anything.
Marianne, can I ask you a question? Marianne,
Yes,
can you just can you go back to that real quick where you just were?
Yes,
So can you just tie this in a little bow for me? So let's see, go back into your, yeah, thank you, wherever you just were. Yeah, use any fonts. So the API key is for the use any fonts plugin to be able to have it work.
Yeah.
yes,
You can upload any font from anywhere. And you just
Right.
gave a couple of different examples from where you got the fonts, right?
right. So I would have it, it'd be my downloads folder
Okay.
on my computer.
And you use the use any font plugin on all the different websites, but you've sourced the fonts from different places for the different websites, and it all works with use any font.
That's exactly correct. So
Okay.
I could get them from Google Fonts. I can get them from here. I think that I have even gotten them from Adobe and put them in a website. I mean, I've been using this for quite a while.
So for the geeks, like deep geek, you can go to Font Squirrel, and if you own the font, or if it's a free font, you can find our variant of the font you couldn't afford. You can create an @font kit, and it will be downloaded for you, and it has a CSS file with it. And all you do is plop the CSS in your CSS file and upload the font to a font folder in your theme, and then it's ready to use too. So that's another way. That's the geeky way.
Okay. Well, this is pretty, I think you don't have to know too much to be able to do it this way. But I like, the geeky way is good. That works a lot too.
Just in case the plugin breaks. You know what I'm saying? All these websites, and you're depending.
Right, depending on plugins. I know. They do keep it, they keep this up to date pretty frequently. I have to update it, so.
I
Okay,
think it's a good point, because if that did break, you would have quite the problem, wouldn't you?
A little bit.
well, there'd be some other font would show up. Yeah, then I'd know it broke and I would go back to the developer and say, hey, actually, I think it's, let me go and see how often it's updated and so forth. So if we go to use any font,
Well, and how does that work? Is there like a default font that it would like fall back on whatever it was originally or something?
it
Totally
will.
Times Roman.
Yeah,
Let me see, use any font. Here
there's
it
always a
is.
fallback font,
Yeah.
So this is a free one. This was updated a month ago. It only has 200,000 active installations, but about 1,000 people said it was 5 stars. So it's kept current. Yeah. And it works really well. And you can, if you want to change colors, you can go into the CSS and then change the color, if you know a little CSS, whatever you want to do. But yeah, I like this system for adding fonts. So, okay, am I done sharing my screen or?
yeah, let me, I'm going to show how you can use Google Fonts specifically to not, to actually host them, self-host them.
Okay,
So let me go ahead and share the screen. And oh, I'm on the right screen. How about that? Great. These were the cookies, and now I'm going to get over to here. So this is a made up, website, so to speak. And I just called it gf.writerworks.com. And this is using the Generate Press theme. And I'm also using Generate Blocks, but nothing special. It's a one pager. And I just wanted something that had enough stuff on it and fonts. So, and I'm using currently right now, I'm going to go into the customizer and again, Generate Press. And they have a very, very nice typography system for Google Fonts. And so you can actually manage and say that what's font you want to search for, and it's a Google font or not. I think you can actually put in something that's not a Google font, but the plugin that I'm going to show you requires Google fonts. Okay. So you have, I put in 2 typefaces, Poppins, which is the body font, and then Playfair Display, which is you see on the heading here and the heading here. And they do a very interesting thing where they have Google Font Display. You can actually use Swap, which is great. It's a way to get the font quicker onto the web page. And so you can read about it here on the font display. So the body font I use was Poppins. And it'll actually say, where do you want to put this? And you can say body, I just want it on the site title. I can put it, in the heading 2, which is what I did on this. And I can put the primary navigation, and I set it to inherit the body font because the body font comes first. And then also I have set for all headings to be the Playfair display. So this is the serif font here. But I decided, just to make things different, I put Poppins in on the heading 2, so you could override all the heading fonts. This would be the 1 through 6, and I just said on heading 2, just make it Poppins, which I did, which is 7. And so this works very, very well. I'm just going to go ahead and publish this and get back out. But I wanted to show you one thing, and this is the issue because you are actually connecting to Google. And I'm going to go to Chrome here. Here we go. So this is the same font, just loaded it up. Oh boy. Oh, sorry. It's G. I think I got something. There we go. Got this in. Okay. So this is the same. It's over here on Chrome. And what I'm going to do is actually run this on the Core Web Vitals and see how it goes. Here's the page speed insight. Let me make sure I grab the actual font. And this is actually, since Generate Press and Generate Blocks are so good, they're just going to always get good scores out of the box. I have no caching on here whatsoever. The fonts are from Google, and all the images are very, very well optimized at this point. And you can see it's a good score without any caching right up the bat. But you can see if you look down here, it's 89, 90, they want 90, but 89 is sometimes close enough. And you can see what the real problem is here. This is rendering block resources. And if we click this, we can come down here and we can see this guy. I know you can't see it too well, but it says fonts.googleapis.com. And potential savings, it's very small, but it takes almost 3/4 of a second to actually.
So it is going to Google. It's going to Google to get the font, correct?
Yes, it's going to Google and say, this is what this person had been using, like this, right? And so it goes to Google. Google says, okay, here it is. And then it sends them to the actual CDN where Google stores the fonts. And that's where they need to know the IP address of the person who is asking and requesting it. And so that was the issue. But it's a, to me, I'm looking at this and it's an optimization issue, because this is good, with a little caching and a few other things like this, you could get this into the 90s, no problem. So if I go back over to this browser here, I'm going to go back in and actually activate a plugin that is here. Just a little backstory. Right now it's at version 5.04. It was at version 4 when I started this, and it actually got bumped to version 5 back on the 4th of March. And it has had 4 updates since then. There were 2 updates today. And so I had some struggles because they did a lot of work on getting it to 5. I think they've got it all there, but I'm going to just go ahead and say, let's activate it and see what we get.
OMGF, what's that stand for?
I don't know. I'm glad
My
they
God.
didn't. I'm glad they didn't switch.
Oh my Google
Google
Fonts.
Fonts.
Oh my Google Fonts.
Oh.
Yeah. And these, yeah. But here's the cool thing. So what it does is it reads the Generate Press fonts. It sees that they're there and they say, okay, we found the fonts and we know how to style. We know what fonts are there on Generate Press. And we can actually come down here and say, oh, so the fonts are all here. And I'm going to start from scratch. So let me just say load all, and I load all here. And I'll just uncheck these. Now I'm only using a few of them, and I probably could have actually minimized the number of fonts here. But if I just sit here and I say, Load all. I would say unload all, rather, sorry, unload all. And then just uncheck the ones that I'm using, which is this 400 pixel, the 400 normal, 400 italic, and the 700 normal. And I'm going to come down here and probably using the 400 and then maybe the 700. But the other thing that's really good is you can preload the fonts. And what this does is it pushes the font up to the very top of the waterfall, so the fonts get loaded as fast as they possibly can. And that's where the real magic comes in. So I'm going to say yes, the normal. I have an italic in that page, but it doesn't show above the fold. And I'll show you, but I do need the 700 and I do need the 700 here. So it knows to load these fonts, but only if they're being used. So I'd taken 3 of the fonts and said, I want to push these up to the top. And so I come down here and I say save and optimize. And now we're good to go. And I'll show you this is the site here, is the GF, and I'm in, let me get back to, here's your standard look at what you have for your WordPress website. So if I go into WP content, go to uploads, they put their OMGF into this folder here. And you can see I have 2 sets. They kind of got broken into 2 at some point. And so that's where they're stored. And they're using all the SVG and EOTs. These are the ones that are important, the woof. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I've seen it woof, I've seen it waff, but I actually like to say woof. So it's probably incorrect, but anyway, I'm going to call it woof. So there's woof 2 and woof. And the reason you use these is because the TTF, as good as it is over twice the size of the woof 2. The TTF is the True Type fonts, and they are designed for print. These are web open font formats. I think that's what it's called. And they're designed for the web. And you can see that the woof 2 is better, a little bit better as far as that goes. I'm going to show a real quick thing. Can I use? Because people say, well, you can't get woof all the time. And I say, well, here's the 99.79% of the time and 98.6% of the time on the woof 2. And so it's handling it very easily. And you can always provide a fallback font for the people that are on Internet Explorer, okay, and other really, really old browsers. But this is going to catch pretty much everything, just the woof 2 essentially, which is the one I use all the time. Pretty good, 99% really. So if I go back to here, and now I'm going to get back there. So it looks the same. Font looks the same. I'm going to refresh, hard refresh, keep the cookies, and they're all the same still. But now I'm kind of doing a self-hosting. And let me get out of here. Hold on. Get back to.
Doug,
Yeah.
maybe you're going to show this, but when you say that you use the wolf 2, how do you specify that you're using them? I don't understand that part.
Google supplies TTFs. There are 2 different, I can talk about that just a little bit after this. I just want, because this one is actually using the woof 2.
Oh, okay.
Because this brings it from Google, and they have all the different, they have more variations than they need as far as I'm concerned. They're even doing SVG fonts, which were like the first version of the Apple iPhone. It's long gone. They're using EOT, which is an Edge, I think, old font format for Windows. They don't even support it anymore. So what I'm going to do is, here we are at this one, and I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to hit the, actually, let me go to the other one here. This is the way you can actually see this one. I want to go to here, and there we go. So you can actually see the difference. So this is with the Google fonts, the OMGF.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You want it to 100% and you still don't have caching.
On mobile. And the reason is because you don't have that big, the big thing going through here. You don't have that API, that big API from here, which is there.
So just to confirm, if you use that plugin, OMG,
Yeah,
F.
OMGF.
Oh my Google Fonts, the fonts are now on your website.
Correct.
They are not coming from Google.
Correct. And I'll show you the reason why. So here they are, and I said they have this EOT, which nobody uses, SVG, nobody uses. Some, maybe about 1% of the people that come to your website are going to require the TTFs, but 99% are going to get this. And you can see it's smaller in size. Now, the thought here is that, of course, this is 100. How much more can you go? Well, I don't know, but it works pretty well. And that's all because of accessing Google's API key to get the fonts. And I can show you this too. Let me see if I'm in Chrome here. So this is the current one. And I should have shown you the other one. Let me get out of the cookies. Let me get into here. And let me get to network. So I'm going to follow a network, and you see Google Fonts. I mean, the Google API key and the Google Fonts are not here. They are all coming from my website directly. And you can see the first three that I set up to actually, preload. I want those up as fast as you can, because that really helps with your cumulative layout shift, part of the Web Vitals. So, and then you can see the one that was the italic, which doesn't show. I have an italic right here on this little area, but it doesn't show above the fold on mobile. And that's all Google cares about. They do know that they got an H2, they got this as bold, obviously, and things of this. But so I said, well, I don't need to actually do this, put this up that far. I can just keep it down here and it'll eventually catch up. But Google wants to make sure that you got, and you can see they're all WooF2, right? They're not TTFs or anything else, because this browser supports WooF2, and I'm actually giving the font that capability of supporting all the different types. I'm going to show you the difference here. So I'm going to take it back over to Brave browser. I like saying Brave browser. Anyway, so we come back, and I'm going to actually remove it really quickly. Just deactivate. Okay. And it's still, their fonts are still over there. I haven't changed what I had put in on Generate Press. I'm going to go back to Chrome, and I'm going to refresh the font here, and let's see, I'm going to in the network, I'm going to refresh, and you can see here's the Google Fonts API.
Oh.
And you can see these are the three fonts that are being used, actually four, and they're coming from Gstatic, which is Google's CDN for storing fonts. This lets you know where they are, and they'll point to it, and that's where the API problem came. I mean, the IP problem came in. So stopping that is helpful. You can see it actually performs better on Web Core Vitals, but it also prevents this happening, because this is the problem child here.
So if you ran it again right now, would it be like 91 or something, because you still had all those other things you checked?
Yeah, so this came out 89 last time. I ran the same thing here. So if I run this one more time, it'll probably come out, it's somewhere in the low 90s. It's, and certainly really good at this point as far as speed metrics.
88.
Yeah.
It went
But then,
down.
because well, what happened again was this big fonts.googleapis.com takes, it says potential savings 780 milliseconds. That's 3/4 of a second. That's why you can look at these and say, let me just target it here. It might be easier to grasp. And this is the one that came out as 100. You can see the first contentful paint. These are low, 1.1, 1.2, 1.6. And this is why, because it's waiting for that API to come back and to do the things it needs to do. Now, if I took this over to web page test, which is another metric, then I use that quite a lot actually for desktop to see how well they perform. The difference is minimal. This is something that's basically an issue with the Web Core Vitals and how it looks on mobile. So, but over on, webpagetest.org, the tests that I ran, they virtually come out the same within about 1/10 of a second. So it doesn't really matter on desktop, but it's the mobile that they're really talking about here. But again, self-hosting the fonts means that Google is not getting called.
Right.
And that's the important thing related to what we've been talking about tonight.
So is
But you get a bonus.
OMG fonts free then? The free
Yes,
plugin?
it is free. They have a paid version. Didn't think I needed it. In fact, I don't. So I didn't use it. But it's just a free plugin.
And it basically allows you to self-host, because I wasn't even sure what
Yes,
you meant when you
correct.
said
Well,
self-host.
I didn't have to do anything. It actually picked it know what the fonts were over on Generate Press, and it just brought them over
That's so
and then
cool.
put them into that folder, the OMGF font folder.
My question is, I will download the font from Google Fonts
Yes.
and then make my font kit at Font Squirrel and then upload it. What about this preloading? Could I still use that plugin and preload them, even
Well,
if I did that?
Well, if you're talking about Generate Press, right?
Well, yeah, I've done this forever. I just download the font, but I would, if it was a Google font, I probably would just use this plugin.
I know.
Yeah, right. So I was wondering if I already had one, though, if I had gone the route and downloaded my font family, the ones I chose, I usually choose like 1 or 2, and then I put them in the font folder and I did a font kit. Would that plugin still preload them for me?
No, because
Okay, then I have to use the plugin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, the thing that's great about this is that if I activate it, it just picks up whatever is in there.
Okay.
Now, there's some themes that are coming out now that actually have an ability to load the fonts without doing an extra plugin. I think Astra can do that. They say self-host fonts. I haven't really tested it yet, and I know Cadence does also. And maybe Bloxy on their paid version allows you to do it.
Just to
I'm not-
clarify, it's only getting the fonts that are already in the theme.
Correct.
Okay, but there is a way to add Google fonts with the Generate Press theme. There's a function to do it. So if you
Sure.
did add it with that function, then it would do it too.
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of, I looked at those functions and it looked kind of painful, overall to deal
Joe
with.
Simpson did it.
Yeah, I know.
I was
but-
like, I was telling him we're going to use this font for a project, and I was thinking about font kits, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden it's like, hey, I figured out the function. I'm like, oh, you
Yeah,
did?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
we needed that.
I saw their docs on it, but it's specific to a particular font. So there's a lot of scripts that have to go in. And I just want to talk about one other way to do this. And it's the way that I've been doing it for many years. And it allows me to do any font, so to speak, literally. It's a manual approach. So I can use fonts. I subscribe to fonts.com, and they have a subscription service for monotype that you can use. And so I get a lot of the fonts that I love are there. I like a lot of the Google fonts, but the one thing that Google Fonts has that, that is tough to do in any measure for that matter. And one thing so I got fonts.google.com. Show only variable fonts. And I've been using these variable fonts, which are a different.
Oh, yeah.
And they're difficult to deal with, but here, I don't know if you've seen what you can do with these. Obviously they have a different font for italic. You can see this little E this way, it looks this way on a regular font. Same thing with the A. But with the variable fonts, you're not downloading all those individual fonts. You're downloading 2 fonts, an italic font and a normal font. And then you're changing the weight as what do you want? You can see them right now. Right now, the weight is 530. And this is one font, and they can do all the different widths. And I've been doing, so you can take it down. If 350 isn't your jam, you can bump it up to 375.
How many are variable?
Huh?
How many fonts are variable over there?
Quite a few. It started out pretty weak, but they've actually more and more fonts are coming there. I'll show you that in a second. But you can do the width also. It's the same font. It's like condensing. And then if you have the italic font, you can actually just use the italic font. I don't know if you don't download the italic font, because usually it's separate. You can see it's a different font. The E and the A look differently when you look at it. Like you can see this A is kind of tilted in that regard. If you go back here, it looks like this, very different. So it might just tilt it if you didn't have the
Yeah, it
italic
does.
font stored. It would just kind of
Yeah.
go oblique. But if you go to, well, let me see, how do I get back there? Here we go, Google Fonts. Variable fonts, you got 221.
Oh, wow.
But the issue is, of course, if you download it, you're going to get a TTF file. And there's I've been using a little tool that is, a little terminal tool that allowed me to actually create a way to get a TTF and convert it into a WOOF2. And so I've been doing, so everyone that I have here, because these things get large, because they're big, I can.
Why would Google not offer the most desirable file type that you're talking about?
Say that again. Sorry.
Why would you not be able to, why would you only be able to download it as the one file type?
Because that's what Google does.
But isn't that weird? Why would they
Yes,
do that?
yes, I agree. So if you, if you go to Open Sans, and I download the family here, okay. And I'm going to put it in my downloads one. I'll show you what they have. Now, this is a variable font, right? And where's my Finder and font stuff? Go to downloads. So here's the folder. Here's the file. It's a zip file. If you open it up, it will actually show you these are the weights of the true type fonts. These are the variable fonts. They specifically label them as variable fonts. And then in the static, they call it, these are the various ones that they have static, and they're all TTF. Now you can take a TTF, one of these, very easily and convert it to a WOOF2, which I'd highly recommend. I can never remember, convert TTF to WOOF. I got WOOF2. There's many services out here. Probably the first one up, Cloud Convert. So you take that TTF and put it into select a file. And let's just take this italic here. It's 135 kilobytes. And we're going to convert it to this, and we're going to convert. Doesn't take too long. And you can batch a couple of these things up, and I'm going to download it. Come on. Okay, I'm going to save it, and you can see it's going to show up on the here. 62 kilobytes. That's a big difference, especially when you're trying to optimize yourself. So I'd always highly recommend making sure that if you got a TTF, convert it to a WOOF2, and you can provide both of them. As a fall, you can provide the TTF as a fallback, but 98%, do this. And I'm gonna show one more thing if I can.
That is very clever. It'll speed up your site.
Yeah, I'll just drop that in here. I don't think anyway. Let's see.
While you're doing the next thing, Doug,
Yeah.
I just want to comment that if you have a theme that's just drawing fonts from Google, adding that OMGF font plugin will speed your site up.
Yeah.
And you won't be drawing your fonts from Google anymore.
Right. So this is based on the idea that you can get a Google font into the theme. Now, there's a lot of themes that are just very locked down as to what fonts they use. I know that, what was it, the 2021 theme? You couldn't even find a font in the customizer. And so that you would have to do something different because they're very designed. But, I'm talking about themes that are more general purpose themes that could allow you to do all those kind of customizations that you need to with fonts, and particularly with Google Font. So I put this in here, the Cloud Convert link, but I really want to talk about this as the greatest thing in Swiss bread. So this is a site that is Google Web Font Helper, and it has all the Google fonts in here. And so if I want to Poppins. And this allows me to actually install these manually. And all I can do here is I can come down and I can say, yes, I want the regular 400 and the italic and the 700. And I'm going to select modern browsers because that's all I use. And so it has it's going to drop the woof and the woof here, woof 2, woof regular. And you notice it has a V19, you know, which is like, that's the 19th version of this Google font. And you go like, what do you mean? There are versions of fonts. Well, they do little small kerning adjustments, which is the space between two specific letters. And they might make little changes there. They might make a little change to the $sign. It's not like they're leaving out the letter A and they forgot, you know, and so they got to do an update. So what I would do is I take this, select this, and I actually try to figure out where do I want to put these fonts. And so it allows me to customize the folder prefix. And I am going to show this screen. So here is the fonts that I use, right? I already put them in here, so I don't have to do that. And I put them into WP content because I don't like the fonts out on the root level. They don't belong there. They belong in content. And I put them in uploads and I created this folder myself called fonts, not a big deal. And I put those in there. But by doing it, I'm saying, okay, so let me see, I'm going to target this because I don't understand what the two dots is. I'm sure somebody else will be able to connect to me. But so I'm going to say content, uploads. And so it's going to actually go to I got to put this in the front. This will actually start at the root level of your website, go to the content, go to the uploads folder, and then go to the fonts folder that you have here. And you can see the URLs already set up for you if you put the fonts in that folder. So, and now, so I can copy this, I would copy, and I would paste it in, and then I could download the fonts. And very simple download, which I've already done, but you know, and what you get in the downloads is that these are pop-ins, and these are the fonts that I chose, right? And so these I would drag into that folder via FTP or through a file manager of some type. And then I would do the same thing. I would come up here and do play fair display. And I'm not going to do this, but I would come down and check off the ones I want. I would come down, pick modern browser because I don't think you need these. And I could come down and download them and do the same thing. And so what I did was I collected all this stuff that I needed, and I'll go to, and I pasted it all into a code editor. You can see it here. And so I have the play fair display, and this is right from that place where I just said I copy it and paste it. What I did was I took out all the comments, and I'll show you the reason why. And I added this font display swap because I think that's a great tool that makes the font get in there as quick as possible into the process. And so these are pop-ins. You can see the font weight is 400. This is an italic font. This is the normal font. This is the normal 700 weight font. I put in the swap for all of it. And I did the same thing here. And I font face and put these in here. And so where I put them was, get back to Chrome, no, Brave browser. And here's my fonts. And I'm going to go into the customizer, into additional CSS. I had previously dropped these in, but they're all commented out, so they weren't being used. So this is all bringing in the font here. Let me just toggle this on. And so that's on. And I come down here and I have to do the body font here. So I have to actually designate, because we're out of I'm not going to be using the OMGF anymore. I'm just going to be using the manual old school approach. So I'm going to I had this commented out. So I'm just going to say the font family for the body is Poppins, and I'm just giving it a fallback called sans serif. So it's going to pick up the system's sans serif font that you have. And I'm going to do, this is what I did for the headings, because remember for the headings, I did the H1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? And since this is the hierarchy, is the body also first. So since I took out the H2 is going to be the Poppins font here. Okay, again, this is a little bit technical, but the nice thing is you can choose any font from anywhere. You can put a variable font in here. You can put a font from fonts.com or myfonts.com or a Google font. Doesn't matter so long as you collect it.
So the 2 dots, they kind of confuse me too, but what it means is that the folder's not in the same folder. It's outside.
Yes.
So that's all. Yeah. And so I understand why you did what you did too.
The only way I could make my brain work is to say, okay, start at the root level and just work your way in. Yes. So, but what now is if I go back over now to Chrome, which is what I've been using here, I'm going to go here. And this is going to be something that's kind of interesting. You'll see. So essentially, let me see, did I disable? I can't remember if I disabled. I think I did disable OMGF. I did not. Oh, so let me deactivate. Okay. So there we have that. I'm going to go back over to Chrome. I'm going to refresh. It's a hard refresh. It blocks out a lot of stuff here. And I'm going to actually do this. Now you'll see something kind of funny. Again, I'm going into the network, taking a look, and you say, great, it's all good. Hey, what's this guy doing? It's still there. And it's still there from the original fonts selection that was in the theme into Generate Press, because I selected it. Now, if I went back into Generate Press and set everything back to, system font or something else, this wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But there's a way around that, like always. Let me go back to the Brave browser, and I use this thing called code snippets. It allows me to put snippets into a plugin. I use this all the time, and this is the one for my images. I have a set of images and dimensions and things like this. So I'm just going to toggle this on, and what this one does is it removes the Google Fonts API entirely. And you can see it's looking at the function in href, and it says the fonts just no, don't even show it. So I'm going to save the changes and make sure it is active. It should be toggled on. Now, if I go back over to Chrome, and we're looking to see if this one shows up here, right? That's fonts.google APIs, and it's gone. So no connection whatsoever to Google. And that's the approach I've been doing for years now. Not necessarily, it's kind of cumbersome because that's how I started. But the reason why I did that was so I could use the variable fonts. I have them on 3 sites now that I use. And the only way I could get variable fonts onto some of the websites that I've been using is to use this method. And if we want to test it out, this is one of the things that you'll notice is that here's my fonts. You notice that they're not pushed up to the top, right? Because they're not preloaded. And that would be something that I would add either through my caching plugin, which is WP Rocket has that, or through a performance plugin called Perf Matters. They also allow you to select fonts and push them up to the top because they're not, it's the best way to get your fonts right up in front of the user. But still, it comes out pretty good because you're not bogging down that API. I'm going to pop into a new one over here. Okay, so we got 3. We got this one. We got this one. This is with the OMGF or whatever it is. And I'm going to just do it. And it's probably not going to get as good as the one with the OMGF because it doesn't have the preload, this one. But once you put it in, it'll get up to that same specific. Well, it got 100. Okay. So that's another way to do it. And again, it's all about variable fonts for me. So I imagine there's some questions. But,
There are. I'm going through the. through the questions. So one was about near the beginning. One was about the use any font plugin. It says a year support and update. Can we assign to a client for them to update their $45 a year license? Here's the thing. That's $45 is forever. So it's not a year support. It's just your price, and then you can use it forever on as many sites as you want. So
That was for the one you talked about, Marianne?
yeah, the use any font. That's
Okay.
for the one I talked about.
Mhm.
And somebody here is this, I think Alicia St. Rose says, I'm using this one, GDR cookie compliance. And I'd have to pay for the premium to get some of the features this one Doug is using. So she likes the one Doug was using as opposed, because it apparently it gets
It was
more for,
$20, but I paid $20 once, like just like the other ones, and
Mhm.
but it was from Europe, so it's like
Yeah,
Europe
they're in
centric.
they're in the Netherlands, I think. Yeah.
I think it was Diane Van Eaton had a question. I don't know the answer to this, so maybe somebody else does. Could someone clear their browser info for a site with this functionality? I think she's referring to the GDPR.
Yes.
And then reload the site and then deny the cookies to have their cookies reset.
Yes. Let me put this. So let me get to the cookies one that I have, because this one doesn't have cookies. I think that's it. Let's see. Okay. So if you have a way here, let's say you don't have this ability, I would suggest if you go to Chrome and clear browsing data, and I don't know what the heck that was. So normally you have basic here and things are checked. This is the clearing the browser data from Chrome right up here. And this is Chrome, and so I actually like to go to advanced, and I can clear out a lot of stuff. But the idea is you can clear the cookies. Now, if you're logged into a site, most likely you'll get bounced out of the site and have to re-log in. But when I do this and I clear data, it will actually say now go back. And if I go back into it, it said none. Okay, there's no cookies loaded. And as soon as I click onto any website, cookies are going to come in. Yeah. So I have macros for this. I just do this I have a key command that actually opens the site up on another spot. It just comes in and just blasts it out. So.
Okay.
So that
David,
one-
you put David Shargles, you put a link in there to Dropbox. What's that about?
Oh, at the very top or down to the bottom?
I dropped the link in that Doug Ryder provided at the very
Okay.
beginning, because a lot of people came in a little bit later, and that
Yeah.
is
What?
notes that Doug Ryder compiled for this presentation.
Yeah, it's just some of the links that we talked about, both the compliance plugins and the fonts stuff too.
Well, we got a video, so Doug will be showing us putting the video up there too.
Yeah, okay. So let me stop the screen share here on my side. Okay.
And then here's a question. Does erasing data from your website include erasing from Google Analytics?
Yeah. I would say no.
No, Google's forever.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the government. It's what Google knows you got to worry about. Yeah, Barb answered it does not. Okay. Not Barb, David answered it does not. And there's the cookies law info, wordpress.org plugins cookies law info. Okay, that was a good link. I'm just kind of going through, looking for questions. Okay, we answered some of these. Okay, so is a font downloaded from DNS Carkey? No, I think I answered that. You download it from Google, and then now I learned tonight, take it from a TTF to a WOFF file. And then you upload it to your website using use any font from the DNS.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
first one's free. So you can always put one in for free, you know, and try it out.
Mhm.
If you're using an image font, we'll go read it as text. I don't think so. I don't know what that,
I
yeah.
think that was from a while ago. Is that mine?
That was,
Yeah.
that was a while ago. I went backwards a little bit. Let me see. Anything else that we missed in here? Cool to see this in action, Doug. Yes, it was. And your site is now more secure since it doesn't go through Google revealing the user's IP address. Yes, absolutely. Are there any security warnings if a site uses an uploaded font?
Oh, that's a question.
That was an interesting question. Seems like the font could carry a packet to cause an issue. So some security conscious browsers might block it. I haven't had that happen.
I know that some people do. They upload them into the media library to get things. I don't ever do that. Just put them right into a folder and
Right.
access them.
How can you see what font is used on a website you like the font on? Well, that would be nice to demonstrate. Do you want to do that, Doug, or do you want me to?
Let me see if I can do that very easily. So let me go back to Brave browser. So I'm gonna move my. So there's this little extension, what's called what font, and you can hover over anything
Oh,
and see what font. And pop in.
Really?
oh my
God, I
God,
didn't know
that
about
is
that
so
extension.
cool.
It's just an extension it's on every browser. You'd have to download it from it, and it's Chrome or Google. But the nice thing is you can click it and it'll tell you, what the weight is, the line height, the size, and the color. And it'll just say it's, play for it. And then you can go around and click all the things, if you want, boom, boom, we'll just see. And if you hit the escape key, they'll go away. And then you can just click here. And so this is a great way, if you say, like, you go to a site and go, oh, that's a great looking font. What is it? Ta-da, it'll tell you right there.
Mm.
And if it's using SiteKit, I think that's Adobe's. So is that what they call it, SiteKit, I think, or is Adobe's
I think
kit?
so.
It'll give it a little Adobe thing down here in the lower right corner to let you know it's where it's from. But so anyway, and hit escape and it goes away. This doesn't work in the customizer. I'll just let you know, which is kind of annoying, but that'd be for your own, but anybody's site you go to.
It's what's the font? Because there's one called what font.
It's
Looks like a knockoff.
It's what font.
How do you get that on extension?
Well, if you go to
Google it.
Chrome,
Google it.
yeah.
That's what I
Well,
did.
that
and
is that. So if you go to Chrome and you go to preferences and they go to extensions down here, and this will tell you all the extensions that you have, right? This is the ones that I have, and most of them are turned off. I use 1Password as a password manager, but sometimes I turned them off for this. I only left the what font and the password manager. So, ad blockers, blue buttons, and all that stuff. So to click here, you come down here and then you can open the Chrome Web Store. And you come in here and do a search for whatever you want. So if I say what font, there it is. And then I can just click it and add it. And that right now it's in my Chrome browser, but it would say add to Chrome.
Okay.
So they're really handy. They show up over here, and I say they can pin these things or unpin them, so you could manage all your extensions back over here and just say, yeah, turn ACF tools on, turn some of the dev tools that are basically for accessibility checking and things like that, CSS scan. There's a whole bunch of them.
Doug,
Anyway.
you could do a presentation just on that.
Well, yeah, but and the nice thing about these are Chromium extensions. So they work with Chrome, they work with Brave. There's a browser, it's the one I've been using a lot. Microsoft Explore, I was going to call it Explorer Edge, sorry. And also Vivaldi, there's a number of ones that do. Now Safari has a different system and so does Firefox. But they have these capabilities to get that. So it's a very simple one, which is the thing that I like. I just want to know, hey, what font is it? I don't need to see a whole bunch of CSS and other things, though, that they make fonts, they make extensions for that also.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I just added it. That is cool. There's one for the images too, by the way. That's really good too.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so let me stop the show. Anything else you want to see, or I think we're done on this my side?
I'm going to show him another way to see what font. I'm going to share my screen, the screen briefly,
Okay.
because there's more than one way to do it.
Yeah.
There's always more than one way. Okay, so here is the Cameron Stanford House website again. I clicked on the H2, right clicked, okay? And I brought up this other extension that tells me what's happening on the website in the back end. Go to H2 and it's Josephine Slab is the font that we purchased and imported for this. So this is the way I often do things to figure out how to change something with CSS or whatever. I right click, go to inspect, and then it gives me details on what's happening on the website in the back end. So that's all I wanted to tell you. Anybody else, any other questions? Anybody have any other questions they need answered?
Alicia, is the one you were just talking about for images, is that the thing you wrote in the chat?
Oh, what? Oh, no. Let me see if I can find it on my, which one is it?
It's just-
Oh,
it's an
here it is.
extension,
It's
right?
called View Image Info.
Okay.
Pretty good. And you right click on an image to get it shows up in the drop down on Chrome.
Cool.
You can also get the developer tools by right clicking too.
Say
Or
that
the
again.
inspector. You can get the inspector by right clicking using
right.
the contextual menu. I use this a lot.
And that will tell you the font?
Oh, no. So the one that's the image. Oh, no, like the one that Doug just showed us, I would assume that once you're in it, if you right clicked, you just hover on it actually, and it starts telling you the name. And then if you click, it does something else. But the image one, you have to right click on the image and then you'll see it in the drop down image info. I use that one to tell if someone stuck a poster into their WordPress site. So the site was loading really long, and then you can see the image and you can see that it's 5 megabytes.
Yeah, that's a little large.
And then you can like right click it into like another tab, and then their eye is this big.
Okay, well, this was a really fun one. I feel like everybody got involved and contributed in a lot of different ways. The questions helped us learn more, and I learned some new things. OMG font, OMGF. I know what that is now. If I want to download a Google font, then I know how to make it go to Wolf instead of TTF. That's something new. So I know I need to refresh, turn off my GDPR and reactivate it and get more things out of it. I didn't know that before, and so cool. I love teaching these. So, any other questions tonight? Or are we going to say this is good? Okay.
I can hang around a little. I'll go ahead and stop the recording. Okay.
Okay.
There you go.